some more layers of air. Clear? So, these are some of the methods of transmission of communicable diseases. So, the diseases which are transferring because of contaminated water, they are called as waterborne diseases. Some diseases where the medium of transfer of the germs causative microbes is air, they are called airborne diseases. Some are by food and they are called as foodborne diseases. Some of the diseases like the malaria, filariasis, then sleeping sickness, these diseases, yellow fever, these diseases are spread because of mosquitoes, housefly, pig, dogs, cat, right? These animals, they carry the germs on their body or in the mouth tube or on some, by some means they will have the germs, and such animals and insects, they are called as vector, and the diseases which are spread by them from sick to healthy person in the society, they are called as vector-borne diseases. And some of the diseases I have told you, they are spread because of touch, and those diseases which is spread because of touch, they are called as contagious diseases. Do you follow? So, these are the different methods of transmission of diseases, right? I will take one example of a vector-borne disease, right? A vector-borne disease, right? Suppose a vector-borne diseases may be cholera, diarrhea, gastroenteritis, food poisoning, jaundice, typhoid, tuberculosis, ascariasis, dysentery. All these are spread by contaminated food and water. But this contaminated food, suppose there is a food or a fecal method in the open that is lying there, a house fly flies and lands there or sits there on that food that is already infected, right? When that house fly goes and lands there, so there is a forceful landing, means with a jerk it steps like this on the food, it steps like this. We can't notice because they are very small, so that force is nearly negligible to our feeling, to our notice. We can notice them. We simply see that the fly has come and just sat there on that food, right? When they land there, their limbs, the legs, right, they have hairy structures. These hairy structures, they pass into that food, they penetrate into that food, and when they go out, as the food is semi-solid, when they go out, so they have to, as you sometimes in the rainy season you step in the mud and your food goes into the mud. Similarly, this flies like the house fly, when sits on a fecal material, the excreta of human beings or animals, they just while landing, they have hairy structures on their legs and that penetrates, goes into that food, and when they take off, go away from that place, these food bits or fecal method bits, they remain stuck in their legs and in their mouth, and these flies keep on flying, and you are at your dining table, sit on your food. If that food is not covered, open, exposed, easily a fly can come and sit on your food. What will happen? When they will come at this time, you see, once they have gone, flied for some time, these bits which are stuck there, that dries little bit, dries because of the air, and when they come and sit on the healthy food that is not infected, these bits of fecal method or food bits, they fall there because of the jerk they land with on the food, and as these bits are very small, we can see them. To see them we need a microscope, they are very small. So what happens? Unknowingly we consume that food. Oh my God, just think, if you think of this, I will not be able to consume the food, and unknowingly we consume the food, and this way we let the pathogen enter into our alimentary canal and cause us infection like cholera, typhoid, jaundice. So many diseases are there. So these are the vector-borne diseases, right? Filariasis, filariasis, one of the leg becomes very fat. We also call it as elephantiasis, the legs like elephant leg disease. Clear? So these are some of the diseases, communicable diseases that spread by various means. Now I think all of you are clear that diseases transmit from sick to healthy person via water is the medium, then those type of diseases are known as waterborne diseases. So sometimes some diseases transmit by air, they are called as airborne disease. Foodborne disease, vector-borne disease, touch is contagious disease. Is that clear to all of you? So these are the different methods how the diseases transmit by different medium, right? So you remember, you have to learn by heart, right? What are the modes of transmission and how can you prevent this? That prevention is important. Important aspect is we have to prevent from these diseases, right? How can we prevent? That is important. Now let me tell you the prevention methods. How can you prevent these diseases? Suppose water, the germs have already added in that water. What will you do? So how to prevent this waterborne disease? Very first thing is always keep the vessel. If you have a storing vessel, these days we have less of that practice. Earlier we used to have the pots in our houses, the pitchers in our houses, the earthen pitchers in our houses to store the drinking water, the potable water we used earlier. But nowadays we have these different mechanical aspects. We don't store water in our houses because sufficient water is available. We already have different means to keep the potable or drinking water in our house, right? So first very important thing, if you have taken out suppose a jug of water, full of water, and just kept it there on the dining table or the kitchen platform or your study table, always cover that. It should not be exposed or open to this air, because many germs, it is not necessary that the person, as in the example we have seen, Mr. A started coughing and the germs were added into the air. So all these, suppose here I am writing 1 bacteria, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bacteria, they came out. Out of these 8, only 2 may have been taken by Mr. B. Rest 6 they keep suspended in they remain suspended in this atmospheric air. And this air, suppose same air is there near the jug you have in your house, and you have kept the water in this, and what will happen with the dust particles? They will become heavier, and once they become heavier, they will settle down in this water. Unknowingly, because they are not visible to us, unknowingly you drink that water and you get infected with the disease. Is that clear to all of you? So what important thing that you should take? Very first thing is, never keep the drinking water or potable water exposed to this atmospheric air or in a dusty condition. You must not keep it exposed to the dusty condition or dirty condition or some strong smell. Sometimes some gases they also diffuse, they also mix with water, right? So at some places where lot of chemical is there in the air and that is having an adverse effect for your body, you should not expose this water open to that stringent or you say strong odor of that chemical or presence of that chemical. Always the best prevention is keep the water covered. Discover it only when you have to consume it, you have to drink it. Is that clear to all of you? Always remember what to do. Yes, always keep the water covered. First thing, first prevention from waterborne diseases. How can you keep yourself healthy? By keeping the water covered. Discover it only when you need to consume it. And immediately, you may have seen these days we have the water jugs with the lid. You take out the water, again the lid falls there on the jug. Remember, never keep the water just open to this atmospheric air. This is one way. Sometimes you have covered the water, but the water that you have stored or kept in the jug is already infected, invaded by germs. Germs are already present there. Then your covering will have no meaning. Then how? Then you do one thing. To be safe from the germs, presence of germs, always remember, whatever water you are going to consume or going to drink, you must boil it. Boil it first. When you boil the water, what will happen? You can be sure of that no germs are there. This, as we cannot sustain a high temperature and the human beings die because of hotness or fire, similarly these small germs which may be present in the water, you can see them. For seeing them you need a microscope, and every time you cannot use a microscope to see if your water is free from germs or not, right? So the best way is just to boil the water, and if you boil that water and then strain it out using a fine cloth or a strainer or a filter. We have the electrode filters in our houses, water filters in our houses. We change the cartridges sometimes. You can use that also. You filter it and then consume, right? Sometimes you are at a place, you may not get the fire or the electrical source to boil the water, then what will you do? How can you disinfect the water? How can you make the water that you free from germs that you have to consume? Very simple. Just you must keep some chlorine tablets. Chlorine is a chemical that kills the germs present in the water, right? So that chlorine tablet is available in the health centers, government health centers, free of cost. You may visit the government health centers during the summer season, and regularly from time to time you must add some of the chlorine tablets in the overhead tanks used in your houses also. So you must when you visit a health center, say a district health center or a primary health center or local health center, you may ask for the chlorine tablets, or you can purchase it from the medicine shops, the dispensaries also, and from time to time you should add few tablets into the overhead tanks that are used as a source of storage of water for the use in your houses. So if you add chlorine tablets to the water, I am not telling you to add the chlorine tablet in the jug that you are going to use, where you have kept the water for drinking instantly. It should be there for some time, then strain it out and then consume, right. So that will help kill the germs present in the water and make your water hygienic, that is free from the germs that may cause you disease. So these are the preventive methods. So how can you keep yourself protected against waterborne diseases? These waterborne diseases are transmitted through contaminated water, and now you are safe from them if you are opting for, if you are following these simple methods and you are developing these habits in your day to day life. Clear? Then airborne diseases, what you need to do is always keep your surrounding neat and clean, free from dust, dirt and germs. You know, you should have good ventilation, right? And after ventilation, you should have the entry of sun rays. As sun rays, they have a kind of rays called ultraviolet rays. These rays, they are capable of killing these germs, and the most of the germs, they are killed in air because of this ultraviolet rays, right. Second thing is, your place where you remain, exist, it must be free from dust, dirt and germs. The surfaces should be neatly wiped with some disinfectants like that phenyl and other chemicals. The surfaces should be wiped regularly, the floor must be mopped using a mop with the disinfectant, and dust should be dusted out from the window panes, on the grills, on the window frames, walls, doors, handles, all these should be hygienic. And these airborne diseases are very common near a person suffering from airborne disease, because that person keep on inhaling the air and exhaling the air, breathing in, breathing out. I have already told you in the respiration lesson. So this contaminated air, that is air containing the germs, that keeps on coming into the surrounding air, adding into the air. So when you go or visit a relative or who is victim of this airborne disease, remember to cover your face using a mask. Do you remember the mask? We are supposed to have the mask these days. You see? Now you can see my face, this nose through which the germs were supposed to enter is now protected by this air. This mouth, this is my mouth, through this also the germs may enter. Now even if the person in front of me coughs, that will come in the form of droplet, a small droplet, and that will be blocked here. Last time I have told you how this mask, face mask, the mouth mask, protects the person from the airborne disease, right? You can see now the germs cannot enter. This is the basic protection these days you are taking to avoid the pandemic, that is COVID-19, right? Though we have developed the vaccine, we are proud of our scientists who did so. So, understood? So, airborne diseases, avoid breathing in the air that is contaminated, where the germs you think may be present, and that is very common at the place or around a person who is already suffering from that disease. That is one thing. Second thing, your air should be nicely free from dust, dirt and germs. The surfaces touching your surrounding or in your surrounding must be wiped regularly. The ground surface also must be mopped regularly using a disinfectant. The window panes, grills, your table, your chair, your other things that you are going to use must be dusted regularly to remove the dust and all, so that you may not inhale through the nose this air that is contaminated. So, these are some of the preventions of airborne disease. Can you tell me if you can call this corona as airborne? Yes? Yes? No, we do not call it. Now, what is the reason? Reason is the germs, that is virus, coronavirus, is not present all around in the air, right? Because the number of patients is not up to that level to add into the atmospheric air, one thing. Second thing is, this comes out from the mouth or the sputum or the fecal material of the infected person in the form of droplets that dries up at once. And virus, I told you, if I say virus is living thing, I am wrong. If I say virus is non-living thing, again I am wrong. Then what to say? You may have a question. The question is, virus is a link between the living and non-living. It's because virus, they don't have the nucleic acid, the nucleus, to behave like a living being. But once they come in contact with a living cell, they get the nucleic acid from the host cell and they start behaving like a living. So, once they are out of the body of the patient, they become a particle in a short while, and they just remain as particle, and they cannot go inside our nostrils or nasal cavity or the respiratory tract by inhaling that air. So, that we can call that disease as droplet infection. Corona is not airborne, is droplet infection, right? Then about the food, oh my God. After the school, I notice sometimes you people are very hungry sometimes, or not even hungry, your mama has given you so nice tiffin. Even when some of you go out, you have some pocket money to be used at the time of emergency, and the emergent situation that were not expected. Suppose your cycle punctures, the tube punctures, and to inflate, get it reinflated, you have to use that money, or sometimes you have some problem. So, your parents give you the pocket money to be used at the time of emergency, but you people keep on saving that pocket money, you collect and you party with your, you party with your dearies, your dear friends, isn't it? You go with your friends, and at that time you don't think of your health. You simply visit carelessly, overlooking your hygienic practice to keep yourself healthy, safe from diseases. You simply visit a shop where these junk food, the fried food, oh my God, different kinds of food, street sold food, that is open to air, flies, dust, dirt, and you consume. Just standing on the roadside, on the shops of these vendors, tea stalls, no. You are not sure of if the food that you are consuming is free from the germs that may cause you disease, and that too fatal diseases, the diseases which may kill a person if not handled at once carefully, that may kill. Jaundice, cholera, typhoid, these are some of the common diseases we come across our day-to-day life. These foodborne diseases, flies infect. So you should be safe. How can you be safe? The very first thing is, in our country we have the habit to use our fingers to pick the food and have it. No problem. But before going for consuming or picking something to eat, you must make sure that your palm or finger or hand is nicely washed with a soap. Must be neat and clean, free from dust, dirt and germs. You should have hygienic surface of your hand before picking something to eat. Otherwise, your hand may have the germs and that may stick in the food and go into your alimentary canal. Our body is well protected. It is our carelessness of eating habits and breathing habits that leads their entry into our body and cause infections and trouble us and causes disease, right? So to protect yourself from that, from the foodborne diseases, you need to wash your hands properly before going for, say, dinner or lunch or breakfast. Second thing is, you should not be hurry, keep your shoes at some other place. Some of you are so hungry, you don't remove your shoes, you don't remove your school uniform, you just go run fast in the kitchen, ask your mama, I am hungry, I want food. And some of you, I know the other kinds also. Even if mama is running behind with the food, you say, no, I am not hungry, I don't want any food. That also is not good. So see, you should not do that. Why? To avoid foodborne diseases. Remember, the food in your house must be kept covered always. Never it should be exposed. It is very good medium for the transmission of communicable diseases. So remember, the food in your house must be kept covered always. Right? The place where you sit for eating must be neat and clean. You should not consume the street foods or the food that is exposed to the external air, dust, dirt or germs. Right? You should have, you have to change these. If you have developed a habit of this kind that is not safe for you, you should change that. So that way, just getting habituated to this type of new habits, new methods of lifestyle, you can escape, you can keep yourself safe from foodborne disease. Now regarding the vector-borne disease, this is very dangerous. You may not be the cause. When I asked, you said, sir, I am just maintaining the hygiene, and taking bath every day, brushing my teeth, washing my hands before the meals, my face also with soap. My mama gives me the food that she keeps safe, keep it covered. Then how? Sometimes it may not be you, it may be your community responsible for the propagation and spread of this vector. For instance, we take the example of malaria. If I say this malaria is caused by, what will be your answer? Some of you will say, sir, it's mosquito, female Anopheles. Mosquito causes malaria. No. Sorry, mosquito never causes malaria. Remember, who causes malaria? It is the germ that is present in the mouth tube. You know, we have this lower jaw and upper jaw, we have the teeth, but mosquitoes, they have pipe like, as you use the straw pipe for cold drinks and other drinks, that type of mouth they have mouth tube. Their mouth is extended into pipe like structure called the mouth tube. And in their mouth tube, when they go sit on the body of an infected person, suppose a person who is suffering with malaria, they just penetrate their mouth tube into the body of that sick person suffering from malaria. They suck the blood from there. When they penetrate their mouth tube into the body surface of that person, infected person, their mouth tube gets adhered with, stuck with the germs that cause malaria. Now, which germ causes malaria? Do you know? Yes? Do you know? Yes? You don't know. You will say, sir, mosquito causes malaria. No. It is Plasmodium. It is a protozoan. Right? It is a protozoan that causes, that protozoic disease is not in your syllabus, so I have avoided telling you about the protozoans. I told you only about the viral diseases and bacterial diseases, not other diseases in the previous videos. So, this protozoan, the Plasmodium vivax, causes the disease, and this Plasmodium, the protozoan, they remain present in the blood of the infected person and they stick